What if I told you the most important car in Aston Martin's history wasn't a DB5, didn't have a V12, and looked like a jet engine dressed in a tuxedo? Ladies and gentlemen, and my friend Timmy, what do you get when you cross a genius engineer, a world war, and the kind of optimism only a British carmaker in 1939 could afford? I'm talking about the Aston Martin Atom, the car that looked like a submarine and drove like the future. If the future ran on tea and petrol fumes. Before we dive into the steel-tubed sorcery, hit that subscribe button like it's 1939 and you've just been handed the keys to a car with a gearbox that shifts itself. And no, Timmy, it's not witchcraft. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming up, especially not the story of how this car convinced a man to buy an entire company. Now, let's unravel this British fever dream on 4 wheels. Picture this. It's March 1939, Europe's on edge, and Aston Martin decides, hey, let's build the world's most advanced car using technology that hasn't even been invented yet. That's how the Atom was born. Named not after nuclear energy, because, pre-nuclear age, because Gordon Sutherland thought an atom was the smallest, most powerful thing imaginable. And what did they build? A 4-door saloon with a space-frame chassis made of rectangular steel tubing, lighter, stiffer, and easier to weld than the old-school round stuff. The aluminium body? Completely unstressed and bolted on like Tupperware on a fighter jet. The result? A featherweight, 2,700 pounds and 1,200 kilograms Grand Tourer that could hit 90 miles per hour, 145 kilometers per hour. Oh, and guess what? Independent front suspension in '99, using patented parallel linkages and coil springs. The Atom also came with the United Kingdom's first ever Salisbury rear axle, meaning you didn't have to sit with your knees in your armpits unless you were in the back seat, which, let's be honest, had all the space of a glove compartment. But that's okay. Timmy once rode in the boot just to feel the vibes. Still claims it helped realign his spine. And then there's the transmission. No stick shift here, folks. This baby had a French coil, electromagnetic semi-automatic gearbox. It was basically the paddle shifter of 1940, except it worked when it felt like it, sometimes brilliant, sometimes completely unhinged. The car had 17-inch Rudge Whitworth wire wheels with 12-inch Lockheed drum brakes, no anti-lock braking system, no traction control, just pure unfiltered engineering, the kind of car that rewards talent, punishes ego, and occasionally throws a tantrum like Timmy on karaoke night. But let's talk performance. Originally, the Atom ran on a 1,949 cubic centimeters, single overhead cam 4-cylinder engine with dual Zenith carburetors. It was enough to get you 90 miles per hour, 145 kilometers per hour. Later, in 1944, Aston Martin swapped in a new 1,972 cubic centimeters overhead valve 4-cylinder with twin SU carburetors, pushing the top speed up to 98 miles per hour, 158 kilometers per hour. That's nearly 100 miles per hour in 1944 during the war, in a car that looked like it should have an oxygen mask and retractable wings. And despite the world falling apart, Gordon Sutherland and his wife racked up over 100,000 miles in the Atom between 1940 and 1947. Yes, during the war. But let's give credit, this car was no garage queen. It was out there earning its stripes, one leaky carburetor at a time. The result? This thing impressed a man named David Brown so much he bought the entire Aston Martin company in 1947. Without the Atom, there would be no DB series, no DB5, no James Bond. Just imagine 007 in a Morris Minor. I shudder. Today, the Atom has racked up over 250,000 miles, over 400,000 kilometers, and is still running. It's been to Pebble Beach, museum exhibits, and even Kensington Palace. Now here's the wild part. This car, this national treasure, this aluminium fever dream on a tubular skeleton, it's only been to auction once. In 2014, at Bonham's Goodwood Festival of Speed. It didn't sell. The bids didn't meet the reserve, that's right. People spent more on a Banksy print that may or may not be a stencil of Timmy's left ear. As of now, it's in private hands, well restored, documented to the bolts and preserved better than Bob's stash of 1982 bottled tap water in case the aliens ever need a sample. The Atom might not be the flashiest Aston. It doesn't shoot missiles, it won't turn heads at Starbucks, and it doesn't have leather seats hand-stitched by monks in Tuscany. But it does have history, innovation, audacity, and more originality than every influencer's car rap combined. It was the car that changed everything, quietly, efficiently, and with a gearbox that buzzed like a nervous wasp. And thank you, dear sponsors. Without your help, we'd all still be stuck in Bob's shed listening to him explain how spark plugs are secretly government trackers. See you next episode.